This video is what I wish Google had told me when chronic knee pain set in at age 12, and then my life pretty much spiraled into surgeries and depression, painkillers for the next 10 years. This is what I wish Google had told me. So we're gonna go through this together naturally. Now, some people don't speak English as a first language and they tell me that I go too fast. So I've made an article version of this, which will cover all the little details, because right now I'm just going through this with you, so I might miss stuff. So there's also an article version in the description. Now, the first thing I wish I'd been told is the power of backwards, of just reversing out knee pain. So the lowest level of this would just be walking backwards. You'll notice that walking backwards is knees over toes. This is the simplest form of knees over toes training, just walking backwards. For elderly, walking backwards alone has proven to be an effective screening process for falling. Stuff like falling down the stairs is actually not a joke. It's one of the leading causes of hospitalization and death in elderly. Now let's look at how that could be, right? Walking backwards and going downstairs. See that? Going downstairs is just knees over toes. No wonder starting at 12, stairs became like a nemesis for me because they were just full of pain. I'd have to use my arms and stuff like that, or go down backwards if it was like after a basketball game. So now stairs, I'm just going down like 2 at a time. It's like I can't hurt myself if I tried. Not that you should try, just giving you an example. Stairs are knees over toes. Walking backward is the simplest starting point of knees over toes. Now, safety is a big keyword. So when it comes to walking backwards and every step thereafter, there are points of safety. With walking backwards, you want to find a place with safe footing. You don't want to be slipping or tripping on something in the effort to start warming up your knees. You may want to find a place, if you're particularly fragile, that has a wall. Like inside of a basketball court, you could have a wall just to balance if you need it, and then you can progress to where you feel stable. A smaller, slower step is going to be less pressure on knees over toes. So you never work through pain, and then as you can take bigger, faster steps, well, now you're making progress. The other way of doing this, which is more powerful but is tougher, is applying resistance. So combining the power of backwards with the power of resistance. We do this by getting onto a treadmill that's turned off. Treadmill off. Now you put your butt against the handles, and now you use your backwards ability to spin the belt for 5 minutes. So I like 3 days a week, 10 minutes if it's backward walking, 5 minutes if it's backward dead mill. Dead mill because the treadmill is turned off. And in all of this category of just going backwards, we just call this reverse out knee pain. We're restoring our weak points. We're giving blood and strengthening to our tendons, which are actually stronger pound for pound than our muscles. Hence why a lot of athletes have muscles, but their knees can't handle their own muscles. So if we restrict knees over toes, we create a situation where our muscles are more powerful than what our tendons, which then inside the tendons deeper is the ligaments, such as the ACL. You hear about that kind of stuff. So we want to be internally strong and externally strong, not just external. So backward walking, reverse dead mill, those are the simplest ways to get started. Those perform an optional warm-up to my program. Why optional? Well, I did over 100 miles of resisted backwards. I tried every different type of resistance and I kept track, and I did over 100 miles of ROKP, but that was all before the breakthrough of building from the ground up, which we're about to go through together. So it is optional because you no longer have to do it if you build from the ground up. I no longer do ROKP, but I did it. So I think now if you combine ROKP as your warm-up with a program from the ground up, now you can really get even the fastest results ever. Now, before we start this together, if you have a safe space to walk or a treadmill that you can turn off, go ahead and do that 10 or 5 minutes right now, and then pick back up the video from right here. So now all we need is a wall. The farther you stand, the tougher it is. The closer you stand, the easier it is. We're gonna do 25 reps. I didn't think ahead how I'm gonna count this, but I'll figure it out somehow. So without bending the legs, we're gonna flex and hold those toes up, and we're gonna go down no bounce. So bouncing would kind of cheat it. Now pause at the bottom. Flex and pause. So now let's imagine you're me. I trained over a decade without ever taking this muscle to failure, and we're about to go to failure together. Now this muscle starts inside the shin. Sure enough, I had really nasty pain in there. And then it attaches all the way up here, closest muscle to your patellar tendon. So what happens if you go 10 years taking other parts of your body to failure? You never take your tibialis to failure. Now what happens if you spend the next 10 years consistently patiently, just with smart strength training, principles of training and recovery, taking it to failure. See that? So every step you take, every jump you make, every time you're running and you decelerate, you now have less pressure coming up to your knees. Now, I should tell you, this is gonna burn, but the burn of feeling your muscles pushing to muscular failure, that is signaling to your body that you want to change the area. I'm not on this or any other step advising to push through pain. Son of a gun. Don't really know how many I'm at. We might do a lot together. Pushing through pain would create a disconnect and actually disengage, really using the muscle. And it could be creating more degradation, more destruction than the construction we can create. So the idea is not that life becomes without challenges, okay? Life is meant to be with challenges, but we just want those to be challenges that we can use our work ethic for. So my hard work used to push through pain and destroy my body. Now that exact same quality of hard work, which I actually became lazy. I became lazy because I worked hard, but I didn't get results from working hard. So a lot of people are told they're lazy or even think they're lazy, but you're probably not lazy. Your work probably just didn't give you reward, so why would you then work hard at that? So I went from really hardworking to really lazy to now really hardworking again, and my hard work has rebuilt my body to the point that I'm now 30 years old, wearing barefoot shoes, jumping higher than ever, throwing down dunks on a wood floor with absolutely zero pain or any evidence to my body later that day or the next day that I did that. Whereas I reached 20, not only a mess of surgical alterations and chronic issues, but icing my knees 4 times a day, hooked on painkillers, and having never once grabbed the rim. So I'm actually able to handle a lot more force. I'm able to go and enjoy those challenges of life more. So that's the power of reversing out knee pain. That's the power of building from the ground up. Those two alone are huge. Those two alone, I never would have had surgeries, meaning what you've seen in this video right now, I never would have had surgeries. I never would have been hooked on painkillers, icing my knees 4 times a day. And that's important again because of the safety factor. So the fact that we can do those two so safely with no technique training needed is awesome. That being said, I paid many thousands of dollars to have my form perfectly coached on all the later steps, which just become more specific as we work from the ground up and combine that quality of reversing out pain. So what do? I tried to make business simple for myself, and my only business philosophy is create the business that you wish had existed at your worst. So at least you're being true to yourself. So exactly what I do is I've made form coaching, perfect form coaching, more affordable than it's ever been in fitness history. I wish when I was having problems that I could have written in a message and heard back within 1 to 2 hours, 7 days a week. I wish I could have, and that's been made possible by actual members now in different countries. It's not like we're all in different countries, but we now have enough members who have gone through it and experienced life-changing results. They want to help others, so we are able to have that clock pretty much 24/7. I wish I could have sent in video of my form rather than having to travel to seminars and pay thousands of dollars on travel alone to maybe get a couple seconds of the actual perfect form coaching. And I wish I could have had that in, within 1 to 2 hours or less. Sometimes it's just minutes, 7 days a week. And I wish I could have had exact programs rather than just going to different mentors and getting clues about this or that, but not just being given an exact, here's how you rebuild your knees. So that's exactly what I do. And you may see me use some equipment. For example, I'm now on the advanced version of this program. I alternate sessions. So 1 day a week, I still do this. The other day a week, I use a tibialis bar. Now I could go on and on, I just don't want to take too much of your time. So I'll try to keep this as simple as I can. And in other videos, we can go into the history of these things, okay? I add 3 pieces of equipment. A tibialis bar, which has a metal version and a PVC version. A slant board, which has like a stable home version, and a portable version that you can take with you when you travel. And a monkey foot, which attaches to my foot and saves me thousands of dollars on having to have a hamstring curl machine or thousands of dollars on good hip flexor machines. So that for like 70 bucks, I no longer have to have hamstring curl and hip flexor machines. Now, those 3 don't just make things more measurable. They troubleshoot the Base Zero program itself, meaning look what I'm doing right now. There are some people out there struggling to walk who cannot do this. But if you load a tibialis bar with a pound or 2 or 5 or whatever, they can take this to failure. You see what I'm saying? So that tibialis bar, 2 of the top NFL teams ordered them last week, but they should also be and are winning in rehab centers. An 89-year-old sent an incredible success story last week from using the tibialis bar because this was a little too tough. So most people can do the things that I've shown you in this video. The equipment I add doesn't just make things more measurable, and I still believe in the body weight. I balance my days now, okay? So advanced zero is just one session body weight, one session with these equipment and loads. Every tool allows you to troubleshoot. So I think that's a really important thing to understand, because you see this equipment, it looks different. It allows you to troubleshoot. That is now leading doctors. Doctors are sending me wins, okay? The same type of doctors who told me my knee would never fully bend again. And now I don't recommend this, but because I use thick padding in my programs, but this same left knee that never supposed to fully bend, and I've just been chatting with you, it's now so pain-free. Like when you see me doing these videos, I'm not prepping for this shit, I'm just doing it in real time. So it now has not only world-class range of motion, but world-class strength out of that range of motion. So who knows how many of these I was at, but this is still productive for me. This is still my foundation. I still do this once a week and the bar once a week. But ultimately, my point, my closing statement, is that my number one fitness belief is that we are all in this together. So even if my opinion is different from someone else's, that doesn't justify me to criticize them. That doesn't justify me to be disrespectful, because it wasn't my doctor's fault that he didn't have knee ability. Now doctors do have knee ability. So please, if you learn anything from me, it's that respecting one another is more important than fitness. We're all in this together.